Hello and welcome back. This is an overview of QMobile's virtual lobby, which is a web portal that can be embedded into your website, or it can be a link on your website that brings your customers, patients, citizens, guests to this particular page where they'll be able to access the department that they're looking to meet with, or if they already have a pre-scheduled appointment, they're able to use what we call our check-in portal, which is a social distancing tool, essentially to let um, departments or individuals know that their appointment is here. So the goal is to manage the flow, control of people coming into your building. We need to have a process to not only account for walk-ins, and we need to have something to account for the scheduled appointments as well. So that's what this does. So in the virtual lobby, we have right here what we call choose a department. If we go in here, this is where customers, so they'll enter their name, their 10-digit cell phone number, and they'll check the service that they're looking for. In this case, tax collection and driver's license. So if I select tax collections, there's reasons associated with tax collections that the customer can choose, and you could add more. And this is helpful because if your staff has more knowledge as to what the customers need support with, they're better prepared, which makes the transaction time shorter. That's what we want. We don't want a lot of exposure. So we're going to say department queues work portal. Now, say you have somebody who has a 9 o'clock appointment with FX Daily, who's a tax, and they arrive. Well, rather than walking in the building, they'll be directed to go to the website and to find the virtual portal. And here they'll check in. Now, what we'll do here is we'll actually call this we'll title it something like appointment check-in. Customers or citizens know what it is. So when you click on it, you'll see here it doesn't ask for a phone number and all the other details because it's really just about letting the individual who has the appointment scheduled with know that their customer or their appointment's there. So here they'll enter their name, and then any of the folks who are using the check-in feature, it could be individuals or a department, they'll be in the drop-down. So we'll do daily. So there are two separate things. When someone goes into choose a department, the virtual queuing system, they're going to get an autoresponder that's going to let them know what their position is in the queue, some responsive reply commands that they can use, and then they'll eventually get summons to come into the building for a transaction, where the check-in queue is really about alerting a department or individual that their appointment's here. So, and they're set up differently too. So where we are here is the actual queues. And the actual queues are where walk-ins go, people that don't have an appointment, that are there looking for service, first come, first serve. They'll go through pick a department and go through that portal, and they'll end up in one of the two queues, tax collection or driver's license. In this case, David came through, and so he's number 2. Click notify when you want to notify him to invite him in the building. Over here is where you can move David to another queue if you have a workflow established. If there was other folks in the queue, and for some reason, let's say John Henry wasn't responding after a couple attempts, rather than deleting him from the queue, your staff can either leave him there and just work on the next person, or click move back. It will push John Henry back 4 places. So that way he's not essentially blown up out of the queue, then shows up 10 minutes later and there's a big problem. So it's just better to keep them in the queue and move them out of the way and give them more time. Here's the wait time, how long they've been waiting. In this case, 7 hours and 10 minutes. And over here is the time that they went into the queue. Now, the memo would be from the reason selector that we use for David. So when David joined the queue, his reason was tax collection reasons. So that's why this goes here. And so as a queue manager, when you see somebody join the queue, and depending on the reason they chose, it gives your staff more preparation time to be able to address the concerns that the individual has. So in this case, you can work it out of order or in order, doesn't really matter. But so for example here, let's say we notify David to be seen. Now, what you're going to see here is there's the 1 and then a timestamp. So the 1 represents the number of times David we tried to notify him. So here's 2. And then it gives you the last time that the attempt was made. So let's say David comes up, tax collection reasons. One of his reasons is that he has to get his driver's license renewed, but he can't get his driver's license renewed because he has outstanding property tax. So he's there to pay his taxes. He finds out. Over here, what we could do is, if that's the case, mark paid, 3/5/24, and you can click update. Well, I'll show you that. So we'll click update, and now he can go and get his driver's license. So in this case, we could use the change queue, and that's going to pull up the other queue, which is driver's license. So this avoids David from essentially wasting time and going and getting into another queue or wandering around the building. So what we want to do is click that. That's going to put him in this queue. He's going to get a transfer message that's going to say that, David, you're number 2 in the driver's license queue, so on and so forth. The driver's license folks will see the reason for his initial visit, and that his taxes were paid, and then they can begin to service David. So the other feature, so say John Henry comes through. We don't have a reason for him. So he gets there, and we find out that he has some very specific needs that really can't be handled here. Let's say he needs to meet with FX Daily, the tax collector. So, well, first I'll notify him so we know we have that conversation, right? So what happens here, we're able to do here is maybe we make a note, complex tax issue with city and IRS, let's say. So since the staff can't really resolve this issue here, we're going to want to set up an appointment or move him over to an appointment with FX Daily. So what you would do is, if it's FX Daily, click on FX Daily and click Update. Part 2 is select queue, just like you would if you wanted to transfer them from tax collector to driver's license, but instead you'll see FX Daily has been added. So that enables the ability to now transfer this individual to FX Daily. Just click on it. As you can see, he's gone. So we'll go see where he went. So now with the check-in managers, they have their own individual queues that are separate from the queue manager page. So now if I'm FX Daily, I probably have my browser logged into this, but minimized on my desktop, and it will time out and will go to sleep. But he should still hear the sound if anybody's added to his queue. He can then open it up, and what he would see is John Henry, and he would be able to see what the issue is. Obviously, if it was more detailed, I think it would be clearer, but I don't have any examples. So he would see that, and then if he has time for John Henry, so that way now he knows that John Henry is waiting for him, and if he has time, he can then meet with him. So let's say he meets with John Henry, and the issue is resolved. I already put it here. Okay, so issue resolved, and whatever policy or format you want to document in, that's fine. Even if, I don't know, I'm not sure if you can even, if you can, but if you can, it helps for communicating. Click update. And now, well, we want to get paid, right? So to do that, we want to send Mr. Henry back to the tax collector queue. So in that case, if you go over here, you don't have to see, okay, so what's here is appointments with, which means that would only be with check-in users. However, when you want to move anybody back to a queue, regardless of where you are, it'll always be here, because the workflow is to try to get them back to these service queues. So anyhow, resolved. So let's get him back to pay his taxes. And so as you can see, FX Daily doesn't have a view of all the other queues or check-in managers, and that's sort of to minimize, the number of people within the application. We're back at tax collector, and there's John Henry. Tax collector would see the issue's been resolved and notify him. See, in this case, where there isn't a phone, there's no timestamp. Okay, so resolved, and that's it.